it lays bare and obvious what his criticism is, which is, or what his position is, I should say, which is when white people riot, it's good, and when black people riot, it's bad. We should shoot rioters when they're black. We should escort them when they're white. That is Matt Walsh's, at the end of the day, position on all of this. With the new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, he has promised to, I remember I saw a video about this on Twitter, I think. He has talked about releasing all of the January 6th footage. I don't even know if that's really a thing he can do. But he has said that he wants to release all of the January 6th footage so that I don't know, people can pick and choose whatever empty hallway, like, 2 minutes of empty hallway that exists in footage and say, this is what actually happened on January 6th. So let's go take a look at a self-described intellectual in Matt Walsh rocking he got a new logo. He's got like it looks like the fucking TVA logo. Like, why does he have the like why does he have, oh my god. Yeah, like what it Yeah, like, why is this his logo? I don't even understand how that's supposed to look. Like, how's that supposed to look like Matt Walsh? Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on with Matt. But yeah, like, what is going on here? He must have really liked the second season of Loki, maybe. I don't know. Nah, that show's probably too woke for him, actually. Anyway, continue.
Daily Wire has just reported that
Jesus Christ. God damn, dude, you're so fucking loud.
GOP-led House began on Friday to release tens of thousands of hours of video footage from January 6th, 2021, the day of the U.S. Capitol breach to the public.
Yep.
Speaker Mike Johnson, who is less than a month into the job, announced the rolling disclosure of more than 40,000 hours of footage.
By the way, I really love that they cite their own, like, news organization. Like, they'll cite the Daily Wire, even though they're the Daily Wire. So it's just like, you can just say it. It's your own outlet. You don't really, I don't think you really need to cite yourself, guys.
To a website, his office said the footage will not include a small portion of video that may contain sensitive security information or information that could lead to retaliation against private citizens. Johnson said in a post to X, quote, "To restore America's trust and faith in their government, we must have transparency. This is another step towards keeping the promises I made."
Oh, yeah. I think this was the LARP, is that they were like, we need all of the footage to, we need to release like a bunch of like uninteresting, like boring footage so that the American people can have trust and faith that, I don't know, like January 6th wasn't that bad. I mean, that's all this really was, right? That's all this really is them trying to release as much footage as they can so they can cite, no doubt, cite a number of calm period, like they'll be like, there were X number of minutes of non-violence at the January 6th riots, yet all we hear is how violent this, how violent it was. Or, they'll put a supercut together of all the empty hallways and all the like really like mundane moments that ended up happening, where it's like, oh yeah, people just illegally casually walking through the halls of the Capitol, that's because that's all they can do is try to muddy the waters, even though, the American people saw what was going on. You're not going to, like, I'm sorry, but like, where's the picture? You're just, no. Where is it? Yeah, like, I'm sorry, but you're not, whoa, what the fuck was that? How the fuck did I do that? Okay, don't know how I did that. Oh my god, that's like the smallest fucking picture ever. What the hell? Was that real? That can't be real. That has to be photoshopped. I'm trying to find the one, what the fuck is this? Oh, is it like, oh, no, it's from, okay. It's a top-down view. Yeah, like, I'm sorry, but no, you're not tricking people into forgetting what this looked like. Like, I'm sorry, there is no amount of like casual people walking around for a few minutes to make Americans go, oh yeah, this guy totally wasn't there. This totally didn't fucking happen. Like, you would have to do a lot to convince people that they didn't see all of this on national television. January 6th was like probably not as bad as Charlottesville, because Charlottesville was a bunch of Nazis, but like this was not good for the Republican Party and for the conservative movement broadly. It's why they've tried so hard to shift the goalpost and to just generally try to like dodge with this one. Why they try to like obfuscate and pretend that like, oh no, it was a peaceful rally. The peaceful rally. You got this lovely person up here fucking raising looks like a fucking police riot helmet. You have all this guy throwing up gang signs, I guess, or something. These people trying to parkour their way up there. Like, I'm sorry, but good luck. Yeah. These guys breaking into the window. Like, good luck with that, fellas. There we go.
I was elected to be your speaker. Some Republican lawmakers and others have long pressed for the release of security footage of the day when a crowd of people entered the U.S. Capitol.
What is going on with this logo?
But of course, those up until now, people urging for that disclosure have been rebuffed, and now it's all being made public. Now, over the weekend, a bunch of previously unreleased videos started circulating on social media. Well, on Twitter at least. If Twitter didn't exist, or if Elon Musk didn't own it, then we could be pretty sure that these videos we would not see, which is like another.
Well, if they weren't officially released, then yeah, they'd probably get taken down because they're evidence in an investigation. So yeah, that would be like that would be posting like like that would be posting like documentation that like the government hasn't deemed to the public yet. So yeah, but I mean, if the speaker of the House is like, I'm officially releasing this, even under the old leadership of Twitter, they would have kept it up, because there's no actual like legal reason to take it down. Like it can stay up. It's been sanctioned by the government to be distributed to the public.
Big reason why it's emblematic of the reason why the left wants to destroy Elon Musk.
Right.
We'll take
Such
a look
simpage,
at one
man, I swear.
There's a couple of videos we'll take a look at. Here's one where we could see it's just basically a stream of people kind of casually walking down the hallway. Let's take a look at that.
Turns
briefly.
To cool, yeah. Yep. Do you remember? Okay.
People are just.
Do you remember what one of the criticisms were at the time of this happening? Do you remember what one of the criticisms were? It was that the police were pretty apathetic, or at the very least, the police were. I mean, there was criticism that the police weren't prepared for this, but there were also criticisms that the police just kind of let them in. Like, we all seen that video of like the cops opening the gate to let these MAGA chuds in. And the reason being they weren't prepared because they didn't take it seriously, because let's be honest, the institution of the police are in favor of these kinds of guys. Like, the police as like an institution is MAGA. So when they see this, they know that they don't, like, if they get the go ahead to step to the side, they will, because that's what they already wanted to do. And like, keep in mind, they weren't really prepared for this. So the argument was, we either fight these people and probably begin like really violently like interacting with these people, which keep in mind they would do if this was BLM. There wouldn't even be a hesitation. We saw what happened when a BLM riot showed up to the Capitol. We saw the fucking stormtrooper outfits that they got. So they're capable of committing and participating in violence against protests and against rioters. They just choose not to in this case. Not because it's not a threat, it's because they don't really have a problem with it.
Just, you can see them just walking casually down the hallway. They've got their flags.
What did I say? They would show a bunch of footage of people being calm, and they'd say, see?
They're filming.
You know, the videos of police clashing with protesters
very casual.
Couldn't possibly have happened. All of that was a psyop.
And that's a video. And there's a lot of videos like that.
Yeah. It's called surveillance
there's
footage
one
of
other,
an entire
before we
building.
talk about this, there's one other one to show. This one, you can see it's a protester is.
What's also really funny to me is people like Matt Walsh will hyper focus on one act of violence during a protest during like the George Floyd protest. They would zero in on like a Target being burned down or like somebody being violent, and they would identify the entire protest that might be happening across hundreds of miles, like an entire city, and characterize it by what is happening on one square block. Meanwhile, we're talking about one building, a fairly large building. The Capitol is not a small building. We're talking about one building. If you go to another entrance, the cops got the word, just let them in, like, we don't want to cause more violence. And Matt Walsh will point to that and say, see, the violent part of this protest of this demonstration you shouldn't even be concerned with that. That is invalidated by the fact that we found peaceful protests, as opposed to the opposite during the George Floyd protests, where if they can find one act of violence in an entire city of protesting, they will say the entire city's protest is violence. Whereas if they can find one act of peaceful, illegal, at the end of the day, illegal trespassing onto federal property, if they can find a few peaceful people in this one building, the people on the other side of the building, not the other side of the city, the other side of the building, are exempt from criticism. Like, that's this is the sort of thing where it lays bare and obvious what his criticism is, which is, or what his position is, I should say, which is, when white people riot, it's good, and when black people riot, it's bad. We should shoot rioters when they're black. We should escort them when they're white. That is Matt Walsh's, at the end of the day, position on all of this.
Being let out in handcuffs, but then the handcuffs are taken off, and he fist bumps the officer and walks away. Let's watch that one.
Yeah. Again, these are all what's funny is Matt Walsh is making
there he is in the cuffs.
No different of a criticism than we have been during the time of the actual riot. That
motorcycle helmet or something.
Yeah, because what did we say? We said that the cops weren't taking these guys seriously. They weren't approaching these guys like they were, as if they were rioters. They were treating them like they were good old boys. And again, that's not a mistake. That's by design.
They take the handcuffs off. He fist bumps the guy. And then that's it.
It's almost like police don't it's almost like police don't really enforce the law to the same extent when it's white people.
What do we make of this?
Thank you for making that point.
Well, there's a reason why it took them almost 3 years to release this footage. That's one thing we can learn from it. There was never any good, legitimate reason to not release it. I'll make the same argument I did with the.
Well, we already have footage of something very similar. So what would be the difference? We have that video of the cop dapping up one of the protesters. We already have video of that. It was body cam footage, I think, or maybe it was footage from the rioter. I forget. But what is this? What information does this elucidate for us? It doesn't. It doesn't do anything. We already knew that the cops treated these guys with a lot of reverence and assistance. So What's the problem here? Like, I don't think Matt understands the point he's making. The reason why this kind of video wasn't released to the public wasn't because this hurts the case for January 6th and the issues of that day. It helps the argument, especially the leftist argument, that police are at the very least like mildly aligned with the far right on this issue.
The Covenant Shooter Manifesto. It is not the
What does that have
government's
to do with
job to
anything?
decide with the any good legitimate reason to not release it. I'll make the same argument I did with the Covenant Shooter Manifesto.
We haven't gotten the
It is
manifesto.
not the government's job to decide what information we need to be told.
Well, first of all, the Covenant Shooter, the manifesto wasn't released. It was 3 pages that told us absolutely nothing. And as far as I've been told, as far as I can ever find, the police did their investigation and they didn't really find much of a motive besides that person was deranged. Like, but, you know, just a crazy person who got a hold of firearms isn't really that interesting to the right. It's why they've obsessed over the fact that they were trans, because they want the answer to be because they're trans or because they have some kind of woke motivation. But in actuality, when the police do the investigation, when we see some select pages, possibly the best pages for the argument that they want to make by Steven Crowder, what does it tell us? That the person was insane. There was nothing in any of those that like would lead anybody to believe like, oh yeah, this had anything to do with being trans or being I think like, what was it? Didn't they say they were like hateful towards Christians? No, they just were a psychopath, which, I mean, psychopaths do live among us, but that's not as potent of a story for the right wing.
And we are very accustomed to the government assuming that job that we almost
absolutely correct
think.
And what Matt doesn't understand is that he's making that argument. It's like he's validating that argument that the police shirk their duty when it's the right wing.
Figure out what information we should be told, suppress information. This is not the government's job. Transparency should be the rule, not the exception. You know, unless it's a case.
Unless it's a case. Here's the caveat.
Case of national security or some other rare exception, we should just be told everything. And this is especially true because even if I agreed that the state should or would be justified in withholding information from us because they don't want us to draw politically inconvenient conclusions, which of course I don't agree with that. But if I did, people will draw those conclusions if you don't tell them everything. And in this case, whatever they were worried about people thinking.
Well, Matt, you're like a news pundit. You're a political commentator. You like me and this idiot have the exact same job, sadly. He just gets paid a lot more because he does a lot less thinking. But yeah, my dude, like the whole point is for you as the like commentator to be judicious with your commentary. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned this earlier. This is the response that the police in in DC had to BLM. So the idea that like the idea that Matt Walsh shows footage of the police escorting and standing to the side while protesters broke the law by storming a federal building. All of that illegal. They are breaking the law directly in front of the police. They did nothing. Like this all just continues to double down and triple down and prove the argument that the police have no interest in enforcing the law when it's the right wing. The right wing will cry and bitch and moan and pretend that they're the oppressed class, that their voices are the ones that are unheard, that they are the ones who are unfairly treated by the system. When in fact, their entire political movement is one bolstered and defended by the police, by the institutions that are supposed to protect everybody, but they don't. So let's keep that in mind. Matt Walsh thinks he's making a point. I don't know what point he thinks he's making, but all he really is validating the argument that the left has been making for quite a long time. So good job, leftist Matthew.
About January 6th, we already thought it because they wouldn't show us the tapes.
Thought what?
And now we see it. It only confirms what we already assumed.
What did you assume?
We're facing the threat of a potential government shutdown.
Wait. What was the assumption? That because their assumption and their whole thing has always been January 6th wasn't a big deal. But if they're gonna look at the police response, all of us turn around and go, yeah, no shit. We said that day of that. Where the police? It's almost like their response was like non-existent when it's white people. Yeah,
That's Walsh.
it's almost like this thing called systemic racism.
So by their own logic, whatever they're trying to do, it's self-defeating. And so then what was January 6th? You can see in all these videos, it obviously was not an insurrection. It was not a terrorist attack. It is not a tragedy on the level of 9/11.
I mean, it definitely wasn't an insurrection. It was an attempt at an insurrection, a dumb one by dipshits who watch you. But yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I would say it was a terrorist attack. Yeah. I don't think it was like, it wasn't 9/11. Like, what, a couple people died? Like, at least on the MAGA side, I know there's like that Ashley Babbitt bitch, but like, otherwise, I don't remember if there's any other names. I think she's the main martyr, which, is it shocking that the police of all people shot the woman? No, maybe, but.
It did not warrant 3 years of hearings and trials and theatrical productions, not to mention that in some cases, you got decades and decades of prison time. It didn't warrant all that. It was something that in many cases was mild enough that lots of these people clearly didn't even think they were breaking any laws.
That's not how law works, Matthew.
Walking casually.
That's not how law works, you fucking idiot. Oh my God. Like, this guy is such a fucking, like, he's so bad at this, right? Like, I don't know if it's just like recently that he's gotten really bad at it, but like, holy shit, how do you, with a straight face, go, these people didn't understand they were breaking the law and we shouldn't hold them? Since when the fuck is that how we enforce laws, Matthew? Since when has this guy ever defended anybody at all, let alone a person of color, let alone a person who wasn't a conservative white person? When has he ever gone, look, guys, they didn't know the law. Like, we can't prosecute people for if they don't know the laws. Like, we can't do that. That's wrong. Like, what the fuck is this? And this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Like he's tried to make some pretty shit arguments in his life. This has to be the worst one. The fact that he shows that little 2-second clip of what, some people walking down the street, he believes that is somehow a defeater to, I'm not even going to show footage. To show footage would be like acknowledging like too much of this argument. Go Google January 6th riot. I promise you, you will find ample footage of people not just casually walking. Because at the end of the day, the 360-degree view of that event is some people went in some doors after a point and got to walk in casually. But before they could do that, before those people could walk, the rest of those fuckers at the front door had to run and break through that fucking glass, and homegirl had to get shot, and the police knew at that point that they needed to quell the crowd by being, let's be honest, friendly to them like they always wanted to be, and to escort them out calmly. That's why at the end of that, you see like that one cop helping people down the stairs and being really nice and everything else. Because at the end of the day, the police on that day showed their asses for what they are, which is, what's the word I'm looking for? Part of me leans towards treasonous. Part of me leans towards turncoats. Part of me just wants to say fascists, most likely. But overall, at the end of the day, the police are MAGA. That is what they are. And until we do investigations on every fucking police department in this country, they will continue to be filled with guys like Matt Walsh. And morons like Ashley Babbitt.
By these police officers in the hallway. If you think that you're breaking a law, that's not how you would conduct yourself.
Because they don't think they were breaking laws because they believe they're above the law.
just being led into the Capitol building and allowed to walk around while cops stand there
Well, yeah.
and watch and give them fist bumps. And also, if I was extremely naive,
So is it the cops'
if
fault?
all those things were true, I would probably assume that, okay, I guess we're allowed to do this. Now, I'm not naive, so I would have known, as I did on the day when this was happening and said so, that these people are walking.
I love Matt Walsh being like, if I was a fucking idiot, but I'm not an idiot, so I wouldn't have fallen for. I wouldn't have done that.
Walking into a trap. They're walking into something that's going to destroy their lives.
They're not. They're
But
walking
for a lot of
into
these people,
like they wanted
as
into the
videos
building.
clearly show,
They got access to the building.
Their crime was naivete. They
Also,
that was it.
Keep in mind how many people were there compared to how many people were actually arrested. Like, again, if that was a Black Lives Matter protest, there wouldn't even be arrests. There'd be death. People would have been shot. Tear gas, rubber bullets, everything, all of it.
For a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. And whatever else you want to say about it, to call this an insurrection,
It was an
is
attempt.
just ridiculous. Like, what insurrection in history could have ever been confused with a guided tour like this one? If I showed you,
Well, one where the police force is sympathetic to the protesting to the insurrectionist force. That's the one. It's kind of obvious. It, like, again, you showed evidence of it, my friend.
that video,
Like,
and
again, the
without
standard
context.
for what is insurrection for him, it has to it has to be
some people
like,
going on a guided tour of the Capitol.
you know,
believe
the
me.
War of
You had
1812
no
or
context at
whatever.
all. You saw, okay, yeah, well, it's a big group of people. It's a little weird they have flags that they're carrying, but
It's a
other
little
than
weird.
that,
It's a little weird that they
Sure.
have incredibly political
that's what I wanna-
flags,
that's what, that is what I
and
asked
they're
you.
like
Give me
storming
another example of an
storming the
insurrection
front with like a
that
bunch
you
of
could pull like hundreds of hours of
what's it called?
video of the insurrection happening.
right, because
And if
that's
you
how
didn't know any
cameras
better,
work. Every camera was on for
You
20.
would confuse.
He does understand how cameras work, right? Like every camera in that building was on for 24 hours are on 24 hours a day, meaning that for like every camera you probably have thousands of hours of footage. Does he know how cameras work?
Use it with a guided tour of a government building,
Right, it wasn't.
because that's what a lot of this looked like.
Was there a tour guide, or was there police trying to get people to not break shit?
And so obviously what we're being told about it is absurd.
Right. And the answer is to go to Matt Walsh's channel and watch a video where people are allowed to, commit trespassing. And, I'm sure Matt Walsh's like defeater answer to that is like, how can it be trespassing if it's taxpayer dollars? Which is like, that is not how that works. Do I get to walk into any police precinct because I pay the taxes in the area? No, that's not how it works. But yeah, lovely. Well, that was, wow. What a fucking moron. Jesus. The thing that they tell, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to